I did my bachelor's in control systems and instrumentation from Mumbai and went on to do my master's in electrical engineering and computer science in USA.
You have become a CTO, investor, and consultant in the semiconductor industry. With your diverse domain and diverse career till now, so what key challenges did you face, and how did you try to navigate and overcome them?
Because I find so many engineers, working in one particular domain for many years. I think my opinion, my humble opinion is that, rather than doing that, you also need to explore various aspects. Identify a slot of a time slot in the day where you will work on that skill.
The key to success is balance between professional and personal and extracurricular activities. Hello, everyone. I am Adish, your host, and it's an absolute pleasure to welcome you all to today's special session, a rare opportunity to dive deep into the journey of a truly multidimensional personality who has worn many hats and excelled in all of them. Our guest today is someone who has seamlessly blended technology, creativity, leadership, and social impact. He's a CTO, investor, and consultant in the semiconductor and ASIC space, having contributed immensely to the industry across both India and the US for over 2 decades. But what makes his story truly unique is his ability to go beyond the conventional. From winning a Filmfare Award as a co-writer of acclaimed works like Scam 2003 and Kon Praveen Tambe to leading social change through his inspiring trash talk movement, he exemplifies the power of nurturing multiple live boxes and giving 100% in each one of them. So let's start with the session. Hello, sir. Good morning, and welcome to the IEEE Pune Section podcast.
Good morning, Adish. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you on board for the podcast, and it's truly inspiring for me as well as my audience and viewers to have such an esteemed personality and take the perspective of a domain specific guy. So let's start, sir.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So the very first question that I thought was to share your journey that is like from your early stages in your career to the uh, now that you have reached your pinnacle of the career and you have become a CTO, investor, and consultant in the semiconductor industry. So, could you please take us through your journey?
Sure, Adish. So I'll start off from the very beginning. So I actually am from Mumbai. So I did my bachelor's in control systems and instrumentation from Mumbai, and went on to do my master's in electrical engineering and computer science in USA. I went to Minneapolis, St. Paul, and went to University of Minnesota, which is at Minneapolis and St. Paul. So I did, like I said, did my master's in electrical engineering and computer science from there. And after my master's degree, I joined a company called LSI Logic. It was a
Okay.
premier semiconductor services company at the time. And I joined as a EDA engineer. So we are actually writing layout tools. But soon enough,
Okay.
that group became a physical design group, which basically means the backend of the chip designing. So I spent number of years doing the backend design services. So essentially, from floor planning all the way to tape out, basically all the core domains as a part of the physical design backend. After spending a few years, a number of years, in fact, in that realm, I realized that learning physical design was not enough when it comes to learning overall chip designing. So I requested my management that can I jump to the front end of the chip designing,
Yeah.
right? And so they were nice enough to allow me to do that because normally it becomes very tricky when you switch groups like that. But they were nice enough to allow me to do that. So I basically, for a number of years, I was involved in the design for test, which is called DFT. Then RTL synthesis, constraint development, STA, which is static timing analysis. So all the majorly what are considered as the front end portions of the chip designing. So in a sense, I could spend a number of years, and I essentially after spending few years in one domain, I would switch and learn, certain aspects of the next domain. So that way, for at least 10 to 15 years, I spent hands-on. I was a hands-on engineer doing all these aspects of chip designing. And while I was doing all that, I also had to keep an eye for what else I could contribute to the design services. So uh, I essentially took upon myself to learn about power analysis and eye drop analysis, and sort of became a go-to guy in that aspect. Also, while I was working on the design for test or DFT domain, there was an
Yeah.
opportunity for me to contribute to development of certain methodology and flow. So, in a sense, what I'm trying to say is that apart from just getting hands-on work experience in all these technical domains, I also dabbled with developing certain skill sets, certain tools, methodologies, documentation that would help all the engineers in our team. So I ended up spending about 12 years in Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Okay.
And after a number of years of technical experience, I did my second master's in management of technology, which is kind of technology MBA, because I also wanted to understand, how the technology companies are run. So in terms of their marketing, in terms of their finances, IP management, etc. And so that degree was a great platform to learn that. After spending about 12 years in Minneapolis, St. Paul, I went to the Silicon Valley, California, and I spent about 8 years in Silicon Valley. And I was, like I said, I was part of the design services, premier design services company. And so our job was to make chips for our customers. And as you can imagine, it's a high pressure job. When you're dealing with a lot of these number one companies in the world, working on multiple projects at one time. And then after spending 20 years in US, we wanted to move back to India. So I came to Pune and worked for a company called Seagate.
Yeah.
And Seagate is a product company. So, so they make chips for, and they make hard disk drives and flash drives and storage systems. So I switched from services company that was making chips for other customers to a product company that has a chip designing group within the company. And so
Okay.
in that product company, I could get exposed to areas beyond chip designing, which is at the product level. So essentially working with firmware groups, firmware verification, validation, testing, post silicon validation. So, working with, once chips comes back, then working with that group in the lab, and so on and so forth. So basically, I got exposed to a lot of chip level concepts, chip level groups, and that kind of exposure. Also got opportunity to work on the site management of Seagate Pune on the operation side.
Yeah.
After that, after Seagate, I have been working with two startups in semiconductor domain. One is in the services and other is in the product area. Services, again, basically making chips for other customers. And on the product side, we are working on certain products and solutions in EDA domain, in robotics domain, in AI ML domain, and so that's been my journey. So as a part of the being a part of management of these startups, I'm also heading their business division and also holding a CTO position in there. So that's been my journey so far.
That's a great thing, sir. But sir, with your diverse domain and diverse career till now, so what key challenges did you face, and how did you try to navigate and overcome them?
Sure. So I think one thing that I always tell engineers or whoever I can talk to is that first of all you have to know what you don't know, right? That's number one, because a lot of people and it's a famous saying that it's better to know what you don't know, because if you don't know what you don't know, that's a problem. So I think fortunately for me, I've always known what I don't know, and so my journey has always been to learn things that I don't know. And because especially ours is a very technical field, and when you are facing a customer in a meeting, or when you are working on a project, when you are interacting with your fellow engineers, uh, it sort of bothers you if you don't know some area technically. So it becomes your, in my opinion, becomes your job to actually spend time in there and learn as much as possible, so that you can be you you are able to at least have conversation uh, in that aspect, right? So
Yeah.
secondly, so knowing what you don't know is a challenge, and it's an opportunity. Secondly, I think, in my opinion, you have to go deeper as well as broader. So like I said before, I have spent number of years working in a particular domain, going deeper, but then I also switch domains. And what that also requires you to do is to sort of swallow your ego, because you become really good in one domain, but when you switch domains, you are sort of again starting from scratch, and then
Yeah.
you are dealing with engineers who are already experienced in that domain. So, but you have to understand that you have to keep the long term goal in mind, because your long term goal has to be always be go deep, but also go wide. Because I find so many engineers, working in one particular domain for many years. I think my opinion, my humble opinion is that rather than doing that, you also need to explore various aspects, because within the chip designing itself there are so many domains that I think it's better if you go deeper, and but at the same time keep switching so that you go wider. So that's number two. Number three is basically, how do you differentiate yourself from others, right? Because obviously, you have your colleagues, you have your uh, people you are working with. So apart from just doing your daily job, always keep an eye for things that you can learn and things you can build for the team and where you can contribute, right? So like I said, in my case, I took upon myself to be this power methodology expert, or in case of DFT, I developed some methodology and tools. Then I, over the years, I basically make sure that I keep learning, software tools, scripts like Perl, Python, C, C++, so that I could develop certain tools, because our job is not only to use the commercially available tools, but also to develop certain solutions ourselves. So that way I could develop certain tools. I also wrote many app notes and technical documentation that other engineers could refer to. So essentially you have to sort of try to become this go-to guy in certain
Yeah.
aspects. Then you have to also always, I think even now, now that I don't do things hands on, but I make sure that I do my homework, and I always technically update myself. So it's very essential
Yeah.
that you keep updating yourself with whatever is happening, latest and greatest. And then certain other aspects I think all engineers need to understand is that soft skills are very important, because technically you could be a great technically you could be very savvy, but you have to be able to communicate those ideas to the team members, to your management, to your customers. So developing soft skills, presentation skills, able to stand in front of the audience and talk, those skills are extremely important. And then because once you develop this knack of being able to communicate, being able to ask questions, that will enhance you as a person, as an engineer. Because I have found that earlier in my career, I used to be very afraid of asking questions in meetings, because I always used to think that, am I wrong in asking this question? Then after a few years, I realized that other people had the same question, but they didn't have courage to ask the question, because they felt that somehow they will look foolish. But
Yeah.
that's not the case. I think everybody is so you have to understand that you have to, after doing your homework, if the question is valid, you should have the skills, soft skills to express yourself, and ask questions and get information and or present information. And then I think second, lastly, I would always say that, apart from getting the technical know-how, getting exposed to how businesses are run, how technology businesses are run. And that's why I did that management of technology degree, which was a business degree, to enhance my knowledge on how the technology companies are run. Because it's very important that you spend number of years being technically very solid and doing
Yeah.
hands-on work, but at a certain stage you also need to understand how these businesses are run. So all these aspects, I would say, are going to build you as an engineer
Yeah.
and a business person.
Yeah. True, sir. A lot of true words spoken here. And actually, sir, I researched about you and just saw your TEDx podcast. So, in that, you mentioned the concept of ticking your life boxes. So, could you please elaborate on that and enlighten our viewers about that as well?
Sure. So basically, what I was referring to is this concept of leading a complete life. I think essentially all of us want to maximize our human potential. So there is a difference between full life and complete life. And so what I said was, when a person passes away at the age of say 85 or 90, we normally say that he or she lived a full life. But so instead of using the because we somehow equate number of years to fullness of life. So rather than using the full life term, I use the term complete life. So complete life, what I meant was that we essentially want to maximize our human potential, and what are the tools and techniques to be able to do that, right? So I read this book by Susan Jeffers called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And in that book, she introduces this concept of boxes. And essentially, what it is that you have to look at your life uh, as something that is made up of equal size multiple boxes. For a lot of people, somehow their life looks like one or couple boxes, which is basically either their career or either family life. But I think that's not living a complete life, in my opinion. I think you have to you are much more than that, right? So you have to look at your life as set of multiple boxes, and these boxes are different for different people. It could be your career, it could be money in the bank, it could be your family life, it could be health, it could be hobbies, whatever it is, right? But
Yeah.
they are all equal size, which basically means that you have to give equal importance to each of those boxes. And some boxes, in my opinion, like I said in my talk, was in my opinion are mandatory. Well, for example, relationship box, because
Okay.
it's what your life shouldn't be only about yourself. Your life should be also about other people. So relationship box is important. Giving back to society boxes should be a mandatory box. So again, complete life is not a selfish life. So complete life is about giving back to the society. So all these boxes, but they have to be equal size boxes. Now, once you look at your life like that, then you have to make sure that you tick those boxes every day, which basically means that you have to do some work in each of those boxes every day, between the moment you wake up to moment you sleep. You have to make sure that you are at least putting in something in that box, and it doesn't normally equate to amount of time. What it means is that when you are ticking that box, you are putting your 100% focus on that box and making sure that every day you are doing some work in the box. So that's what I mean by ticking your boxes every day. In my case,
Okay.
basically, apart from my engineering career, one thing that always excited me was creativity, and uh, I have been a avid book reader since my childhood, and I love storytelling. And so while I was in US, I started, sort of playing with this creative angle a little bit. So me and a friend of mine, started developing some scripts, some ideas, some storylines, and that sort of uh, got me excited about creating my own material. So I basically published my novella while I was in US. It's called Border Post 99, No Man's Land, based on something that my grandfather had told me. He was in British Army and then
No.
in Indian Army later on. But my the coming back to the ticking of boxes, what I did was, after coming back from a whole day of work, I used to lock myself in the room and just write for at least 1 hour, and I did that every day, and I never let that go. So that's what I mean by, first of all, identifying a box and then ticking it every day. Likewise, health, your again giving back to society, and we'll talk about that. But once we came back to India, once I started visiting these heritage places, forts, I realized that
Yeah.
I had to do something more, right? And so I basically started ticking that box. But I'll get to that in much more detail. But my idea is that you have to identify those boxes, look at your life as set of equal size boxes, and do some work every day.
Okay. So a great answer, sir. A follow-up question I would like to ask is that is it the key to success and time management? As due to a diverse portfolio such as yours, I find it a bit difficult to like apply that in my life as well. So is time management and ticking the box every day is crucial for success?
Absolutely. And basically, see, once you understand the boxes theory, right, you can apply
Yeah.
it to your own career as well. Because, like I said, let's for example, let's assume that you want to pursue engineering career, right? And like we said before, even within the engineering domain, there are so many areas that you want to get yourself updated on, right? Technically
Yeah.
speaking, even soft skill wise. So how do you work yourself? You have to look at yourself that ultimately you are working on yourself. Nobody is born an expert. Nobody is born an expert into many things, multiple things, even one thing for that matter. So we have to all work on ourselves. So how do you start, right? Whether it's a technical area, for example, if I want to learn Python, because I feel that
Yeah.
that skill set is important in long term. After doing my job, I'd say as a hands-on engineer working on some customer program, which is not giving me opportunity to learn Python, for example, I'll still need to come home and teach myself Python. If I My goal is to be able to communicate and to be able to present properly, to be able to stand in a customer meeting and talk confidently, then I have to work on it. Nobody is born with soft skills. Nobody is born with communication skills. So basically, each of us have to work on that. So identify a slot of a time slot in the day where you will work on that skill. And my point is that whether it's your career, whether it's your looking at yourself as complete person, and in whichever area, whether again, like I said, relationships, your professional relationships, and it doesn't even have to be personal relationships only, even your professional relationships. If you believe that I need to, go and talk to this manager, or I need to go and talk to this colleague because he knows something, I need to learn from him, or I need to, update myself with this particular skill. I need to attend that school, or I need to enroll myself in that program. Unless you do those steps on a daily basis, unless you tick those boxes on a daily basis, it won't build over time. Uh, so this, I think, this concept of identifying all these different areas and working in all those areas every day is essential, and whether it applies to your career or whether to your life.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
my answer.
So the key to success is balance between professional and personal and extracurricular activities.
Well, let me put it clearly, right? So when a lot of people talk about work life balance, in my opinion, it's what is essential is that your health is number one. You cannot
Yeah.
compromise on that, because and because if your health is messed up, then you won't be able to perform in any areas, right? So for to keep good health, what is required is good sleep, good diet, good exercise. So again, we are talking about multiple areas that you need to uh, uh, be focused on, right? So you cannot take your sleep lightly, you cannot take your diet lightly, you cannot take your exercise lightly. So you have to work in these aspects every day as well. Apart from that, work life balance doesn't really mean uh, time management. To me, is a wrong concept. I think a lot of people also say have said this. Priority management is the key here, right? Because
Yeah.
we have to identify what are my priorities, and these priorities will keep changing as you progress through the life, right? When you are younger, when you're in school, obviously your job is to get good marks and spend a lot of time studying and all that. But at the same time, like I said, keep certain other aspects in mind. uh, uh,
Yeah.
and if you when you're young, other aspects of life like friends and or family life, health, like I said, is very important. I think you have to ultimately develop yourself as a person. And so like I said, soft skills is important. Getting exposed to different experiences is important. So and this is true your entire life. So I think again, going back to my original point, that how do you look at your life? Do you see your life as one or two boxes, just a career box and money in the bank box? Or do you see yourself as this person who has so much to offer in all these areas of life? If that is so, and I think all of us have potential to contribute to many areas in life. So in that case, it's very essential that you identify those boxes and keep working in those boxes. Now, again, coming back to your question, when we talk about balancing, it doesn't mean that if I'm spending 10 hours at work, I'll be able to spend 10 hours doing something that I love or my hobby. It's not possible, right?
Yeah.
But what I mean is that even if I spend half an hour working on my hobby or my travel or my relationships or my whatever it is, I am equally focused, right? I'm giving my 100%, right? When I'm in that box, I don't want to work. I don't want to think about my work, right?
Yeah.
If I'm at work, I don't want to think about my friends. And so basically, that's what I mean. That uh, t- giving your 100% doesn't equate to amount of time. It basically boils down to the intent and your intensity and your focus when you are
Yeah.
in that box.
Okay. So focus on what you're doing right now and forget everything else and just go for it.
Yeah, but at the same time, you have to prioritize. You have to find out your
Yeah.
4 to 5 boxes. Those boxes will keep changing as you
Yeah.
progress through life, but make sure that you have multiple boxes. And
Yeah.
that's why I say it should be equal size. Equal size, not in terms of time spent. Equal size in terms of focus and intention.
Okay. Yeah. A great outtake on life, sir. And the next question will be like, you have lived in the US for over 20 years and now you are in India. So, how was your experience abroad and how did it shape your perspective about the tech industry in general in India?
Yeah, so I think before I get to the tech industry, I would like to talk a little bit about my experience in working in US for a bit.
Yeah,
And I
definitely,
think
sir.
because it's a different country, and especially now, we all of us get exposed to through different uh, mediums. We get exposed to other cultures and other countries, and we sort of understand what it is. But when we went there, we didn't know a lot about US, and I think even now I feel that we make opinions about other countries based on second-hand knowledge. Whether it's through movies or through other people or through what we see on media, we tend to make opinions. When I went to US, and after spending 20 years there, few things that I found interesting. One concept that has been talked about a lot, is this Western culture concept. And after spending 20 years, I still don't understand what they mean by Western culture, because I never found a trace of it. I think all my American colleagues, friends, had fantastic family lives, big families, same family values as us, same moral values. So I never found, when we say Western culture, I never found a trace of it in US. Second, very interesting observation was that in 20 years, I experienced no racism at all. And I was there in US when 9/11 happened, and even after that, uh, I never experienced racism. So that's one thing that I found very interesting, and something that we can all learn from. Uh,
Huh.
Other interesting thing I found about US is that dignity of labor. And what I mean by that is that kids of age of 13, 14, they are asked to work in, say, McDonald's, or in doing all these jobs, low paying, low wage jobs. And
Yeah.
even if you are a son of a millionaire, you are still supposed to work at McDonald's. So what that does is that it sort of inculcates in you this dignity of labor, right? Because you have worked at those jobs, so you never look down upon people who are doing those jobs. So
Yeah.
I think that is something that we all can learn from, dignity of labor. uh, then I think, technically speaking, what I find interesting is that US has been able to remain a number one country in terms of products and markets. And even now, even in 2025, we use a lot of US products on a daily basis, right? A lot of
Yeah.
US companies are still sort of number one in the world,
Hmm.
and there is a reason for that. And I think after spending many many years, I'm trying to understand, why it is so. And they have, I think there are there's a culture aspect to it. So America has been, called land of opportunities, and it's true that talent is always given preference, and talent always finds its way. It bubbles up. It's in there somehow in DNA. Perhaps it was, they're forming a new country, and I think they
Yeah.
always made sure that new talent finds new opportunities. And so it's one is in their, I think, DNA. And but more than that, I think they build ecosystem around that. So whether it's a government initiatives or academia, for that matter, academia is very closely engaged with the industry. And so when you get trained into something, you are very close to what industry is expecting you to do. there is whole innovative approach to things. There is always excitement built around coming up with new products, new ideas, and that's the cultural aspect. And there is ecological there is ecology built around it, and along with commercial aspects, so infrastructure aspects. So uh, all these aspects have come together to really result is this great amalgamation of all these things coming together, and it's so it results into a lot of leading products, technologies coming out of that country. So there's something to learn from that. And then uh, my colleagues, American colleagues that I worked with, I found them extremely competitive. And what I found interesting was, some of them were completely from a different backgrounds. Some of them like were music majors, history majors, and doing
Oh,
engineering work, and they're so good at it. And I think it's just right attitude and right talent. So it doesn't really matter, what your background is, but I think if you are putting your 100%, I think you can succeed. So that's another thing. And I think uh, what I feel is that certain things that we can all learn is, first of all, this integrity to work. You have to be 100% committed. There needs to be this hunger in you to learn new things, technically update yourself.
yeah.
Like I said, go deeper but go wider. Always be excited about learning new things technically. Always updating yourself, doing your homework, building skill sets. What will it take you to be a complete engineer? That's how the mindset should be. That's on the individual basis, but I think culturally we need to be more assertive. I think there's a lot of passive aggressiveness that I see. We need to learn to express ourselves technically, non-technically, in meetings, in communication forums. Also, academia and industry need to work together, and government. And I've been on board of studies for last 4 5 years of an institute here, electronic and telecommunication department, and I've also been exposed to what government is bringing in. Like I said, I worked in top companies, and I also worked in startups, so I am exposed to a lot of ground level reality. And I think we need to do a better job in terms of how academia can more closely connect it with the industry. And within industry, more than being a services industry, we now it's high time that we get into the product space and solution space in India, so that
Yeah.
we soon can become a world leader ourselves.
And that brings us to the end of this episode. What an insightful and inspiring conversation. A huge thank you once again to Mr. Kedar Patankar sir for sharing such a rich tapestry of experiences. From semiconductors to storytelling, from entrepreneurship to social responsibility, there's so much to take away from your journey. But this isn't the end. They have only just scratched the surface. In our next episode, we'll dive deeper into some fascinating topics we couldn't fully explore today. So stay tuned, you won't want to miss out what's coming. Until then, thank you all for listening. Don't forget to follow, share, and let us know what inspired you the most from today's session. And see you all in the next episode. Signing off.